Starliner Media. Starliner Media presents Music Night at the Majestic with your host, Michael Boswell.
All right, it's time once again for Music Night at the Majestic, and with us tonight, Derek Mo Moore from Nektar. Derek, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell you, we're glad to have you here. Nektar has had such an amazing longevity to it that every album's a little bit different, but every journey has to start somewhere. Where did that musical journey start for you?
1969 is when when Nektar was formed, at the end of 1969, and by the beginning of within the first week, Mick Brockett joined us, and we became Nektar, and we had a music and light theater, in which the lights told the story of the music.
Yeah, now the light shows are legendary. In fact, actually, one of the questions from our viewers was Dan in Wisconsin, who wanted to know how the light shows came to be.
Mick basically pioneered light shows. He played with Floyd in the early days, and he played a lot of festivals. And we discussed in, I guess it was early '69, we discussed getting the band together and doing a music and light theater and having the lights tell the story. So it doesn't matter what country you're in, what language they speak, they'll be able to understand what's going on. That was the idea. And lo and behold, January of 1970, Mick showed up at the Hotel Pacific where we were living in Hamburg, Germany, and said, "I'm here, let's do something." So we got his gear, and I brought him into all the places we were playing. And it was really funny, actually. Nobody had ever heard of a light show. So I would go to the promoter and I would say, if you want to have the light show, it's an additional maybe 100 marks or 200 marks. It was not really much money. He said, "We don't need the light show. We've got lights." I said, "No, you don't." He said, "Yes, we do." I said, "I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do the light show, and if you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it." And they always paid for it. They were always blown away by it. And that's how we got the music and light theater going.
Oh, that's great. Well, tell me this, what types of bands were you in? Or better yet, who were your influences when you very first started playing?
Probably probably Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, them kind of Airbo Diddley, Howlin' Wolf, lots of rhythm and blues. But I would say the biggest influence on my playing, anyway, by far, was the Beatles. Very melodic. I didn't realize this until a few days ago. I watched the special on Paul McCartney. I don't know if you saw that.
The 3-2-1?
It was on Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy crap, this guy is playing the same type of parts as I play. And I realized over the years of listening to him, I must have that influence. I'm very big into cello. I don't play cello, but I play a lot of cello parts. And now we have two bass players. It's great. We play a lot of intertwining parts, or one person can hold down the rhythm and the other one can play melody. It's pretty interesting, the new band.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you guys got together in Germany in '69. You guys were all Englishmen,
right?
Who were in Germany, and
except for Roy. Roy was in Sweden, and we'd played with him before in Germany, jammed with him, and Ron used to jam with him a lot at the Star Club. And when we needed a new guitarist, I sent a telegram to Roy and asked him if he was interested. And they said, yes. So I sent him the money and he came to Hamburg. And the first gig, we jammed the entire gig. We'd never played together before. And we just jammed the whole gig. And it went down really well. And we decided if it didn't go down well, we were going to call ourselves Pollen. And if it did, we were going to call ourselves Nektar. And after the gig, the newspaper people came up and said, what's the name of the band? I said, it's Nektar. I said, how do you spell that? Yeah, well, let's spell it with a K because that's like hard rock, We didn't know that Nektar with a K was the German spelling. And that was it. We were Nektar.
Yeah. Now, based on the sound of the band, I'm going to guess there were some divergent musical tastes and influence among the members.
It's funny, really. We not really. We listened to Moody Blues. We listened to a lot of Beatles. We listened to Chicago, Blood, Sweat and Tears. Lots of the bands of the time. But we felt we had our own style, and we didn't actively copy anybody. We made our own music,
Yeah.
I feel that's why a lot of it came out that way.
Yeah. Well, tell me this: when you guys were writing music,
Yeah.
What type of approach did you take to songwriting? Was it a collaborative situation?
Very collaborative. Actually, we've always written the same way. We write parts. I'll give you the example of the new album, The Other Side. We had a lot of music left over from 1978, and none of it was what I would call finished. We had the basic things, except for I'm on Fire, which I wrote way back then for my wife, or my then girlfriend, actually. And we put all the music that we had, the pieces that we had, we put into boxes. So you learn everything in that box and develop it to where it can go. Then you go on to the next box and get the next music and do the same thing. And maybe you end up with 7, 8, 9 boxes. And then you assemble it into music. The Other Side was a 18-minute piece, and that was definitely assembled that way. And once we had the music where we wanted it, then we write the words. When we're finishing up the album, Mick, who came up with almost every one of our album titles, came up with the title The Other Side. And I liked it very much because it meant a lot, seeing as Roy had died, and our mixer, our sound mixer live, Vinnie Schmidt, he died, and our European tour manager, Michael Brennan, he died, and we thought it was a good link, and there was a lot of stories that could be told, linking the thing to The Other Side, not necessarily directly to them, but directly to each other. If you, for instance, Skywrite is a story of a guy whose girlfriend, a significant other, dies, and he's up in the sky writing letters, hoping that she can see him. So these are the type of stories that you can weave into a complete album.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how we wrote all of them. I mean, going back to Journey to the Center of the Eye, that was written that way. There were different pieces. One piece I wrote in Istanbul in 1965. And Roy wrote a lot of pieces, and we put them together, and we'd determine what went best together. And maybe it would change, before we recorded it. Certainly, A Tab in the Ocean was done that way. And Crying in the Dark, the King of Twilight, we had a small room, maybe 12 by 12. We put all the equipment in it. And boy, when we played that, it was just throbbing. And I knew that we had something special. So we just had to put it together, give it a beginning and end and a middle, and write the words, and we were off. And that's that's been our technique since we started. I don't know about when I wasn't there, but I do know that's how we always did it.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's a very different way of writing. The same way with words. We'll sit together and think about the words, and the words just come to you. Something will come. We're looking for this, we're looking for that, and boom, it's there. It's a strange way of writing, but it works for us.
Yeah. Well, were there any songwriters that were the most inspirational to you, or they had a big influence on you?
You mean songwriters in other bands?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Lennon McCartney, as I said, were a huge influence. Some parts in My Guitar Gently Weeps I've played since that came out. And I realized, as I said, listening to that McCartney special, how much I'd actually absorbed from the bass playing that he played. I listened to something which the bass was right up front. I thought, holy crap, that melody is awesome. The melody makes the song.
Mm-hmm.
And I never realized that before. So, yeah, we had a lot of influences. We just didn't have the influences with any knowledge having the influences. I guess influences work that way.
Right. Well, when you listen to it, if you like it, you can't help but have that show up somewhere in your work later.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Remember the Future, we started writing pieces for that very early on. We had so much music that we decided that we were going to make an album and get rid of all the pieces. Not get rid of them, but put them somewhere else. And that's why we did Sounds Like This, to get rid of all the songs that we got, because we were getting cluttered with not having them on an album. So we went in the studio and we did a live gig in the studio with an audience of fans. And we did 2 days and picked the best day for that album. And that freed us up to doing Remember the Future. And we got pieces like Bluebird and a few other pieces. But then we went into Bellaphone, in the record company in Frankfurt, and we saw the cover. And as soon as we saw the cover, on the back, there's a bluebird, a bluebird. And as soon as we saw that, we knew what the story was going to be. And Mick came up with the name Remember the Future. And then the base story of it all actually came from Frankenstein, where Frankenstein meets the guy in the house, and the guy can't see him, so he's not afraid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the theme of Remember the Future actually came from that.
Wow.
So that it's how you write is often influenced by your surroundings,
Oh, exactly. Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned Sounds Like This.
Yeah.
One of the songs here that's stuck with me is New Day Dawning.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us about that song.
New Day Dawning came about very, very early on. We used to do, in fact, I think we did on that album was New Day Dawning into a Beatles song. And it just seemed to work, and it was one of them things that we had to put out the way because it didn't really fit with what we were thinking, what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
But we used to play every one of them songs live. In fact, today hold on a second. Okay. Even today, we play about 4.5 hours of worth of music from all the songs. So we're able to do a different concert every night. So if we're playing, for instance, in St. Louis, we'll play 4 shows. We can play a different show every time. And each one will have music in it that we haven't played in one of the others. It keeps it fresh, and it keeps it For us, it keeps it fresh. And
Right.
for the fans, it gives them a reason to come more than once.
Exactly.
If we're going to get to know, this tour is called Vinyl Sides Live. So live now, we can do all of Tab in the Ocean, all of Recycled, all of The Other Side, all of hold on. So that's all of Remember the Future, both sides of everyone, and then a sprinkling of Sounds Like This, little piece out of Journey. So everything's represented. And we took a little piece out of Journey and we dropped that into Drifting, which is from the new album. They went so well together. Drifting, I don't know if you've heard the new album. Have you heard the new album?
Yeah.
Yeah. Drifting was the first take in the
wow.
studio. We went into the studio, we knew the music backwards, and we always do live tracks in the studio. The backing tracks are always live. I've been since day one. So it gives it a better feel if the tracks are live. When we finished playing Drifting, I said right away, that's a take. We need to listen to it. We're not doing anything with it. So we went in the studio and listened to it, and it was just like it. I said, that's it. That's the song.
Mm-hmm.
So we added just the vocal line, and under the vocal line is a piano that echoes the vocal line. That's all we did to it.
Wow.
Everything else was live. First take in the studio.
Wow.
So sometimes some things just happen. It's magic,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, tell you what, that kind of takes me to another viewer question. Nancy in Indiana asks, what Nektar songs do you look forward to playing in concert the most?
Boy.
It's kind of hard to choose. It's like, pick a
Very
favorite.
hard, yeah. I like Tab in the Ocean. I like Recycled. I like anything in Remember the Future.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I like all the music we play. I look forward to playing everything for the fans. I mean, our what we call our nectarines, the fans that have stuck with us forever, and new ones, we call them all nectarines.
Mm-hmm.
They inspire us to do what we do. When we are playing, we're feeding off the audience. If we see or somebody says, I hear somebody shout something out one time, like shout out a song or something. Quite often that song will appear. We'll just drag it out and play it.
Uh-huh.
That's why we have 4.5 hours of music, so that we can do that. I mean, we've got a lot of songs this time from Down to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
When Down to Earth first came out, it wasn't popular, but it's hugely popular now. So we're doing a lot of stuff from that.
Uh-huh.
We've brought back some pieces that we did live in New York, as they were in New York. We learned the beginning of Recycled through Marvelous Moses, which I haven't played Marvelous Moses since 2002. It's a very intricate part to play for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it down, and we went in. We have a little studio that we're rehearsing in New Jersey, and we hammered it down, and really, it really came out great. The other thing I would like to mention is Lounsbury pedals. Greg Lounsbury makes pedals mainly for Europe, but he sent a pedal to Kendall, and I said, these are interesting. Do you think you could fix my wah-wah? I've had this wah-wah since 1973, and it's making too much noise. So I sent it to him, and he fixed it. I mean, it's like brand new.
Wow.
The way it sounds, And he said, try a couple of these pedals. He sent me a bunch of pedals to try. I got to tell you that brought my guitar back to how it used to sound back in the 70s. I mean, it's just incredible. So, these things happen. A lot of it is happenstance. Just happen to be in the right place at the right time,
Right. Well, I'll tell you, another song that viewers were asking about was from Journey to the Center of the Eye, from the album from 71. People had questions about Death of the Mind, the closing track.
We don't play Death of the Mind. I'll have to have another listen to it. I've been listening to all the old albums, picking pieces out. Journey to the Center of the Eye was the first long piece, first epic piece that we wrote. It's a concept album. And the whole thing was, if I remember rightly, 40 some minutes long, 45 minutes long. And back in the time we recorded that, we only had an 8-track tape recorder, and there was no Dolby and there was no DBX. So you couldn't stop the track and start it again. Otherwise you got really heavy sounds. I don't know if you know that, but so we had to play the entire 45 minutes at one shot live. And that's how we did it. That's how we made it. So that's why it sounds like one piece. But the 8 tracks that we had, we completely covered with pieces. A little piece over here, a little piece over here, a little. We had the entire length of the console, which was about maybe 14 feet long. We had a chart with every track and what was on it at what time. So we all sat on the board, and as each part would come up, the fader would go up or the song would go down, and we mixed it all in one shot. Wow, doing it that way, it was interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, now tell me this. This is something we've just discussed on the show once in a while. Given the difference in technology from when you guys were recording Journey to the Center of the Eye versus now, you were so much more limited, technically speaking, as far as the recording process goes.
Yeah.
Do you think that that lack of technology, spurred creativity, finding a way to get what you wanted to do, as opposed to?
Absolutely. I think it made you do things a different way. It made us play that entire album in one shot. And the feel from that one album, you feel it's one piece. And that's what started us doing everything we did that way. Everything we did was done on a live basis. In the studio, when we did Tab in the Ocean, that was a little different. The other album, the first album, Journey, we did in one little room, not much bigger than this room where I'm in now. We were just hunkered down and played everything in the one room. By the time we did Tab in the Ocean, he had a bunch of booths. So you put your gear in the booth and got in the booth with it and looked out the window. And we were able to nod to each other and play that way. And that worked fine. With the headphones, you could hear what everybody was doing. And then by sounds like this, we're back in the studio, everybody together. We set up the stage equipment, including the speakers for the vocals, all in the studio, and we played to the fans. Remember the Future, we were back to playing all in one room. That was in England, and that was great. If you on Remember the Future, the first side, I missed the last note, the bottom note. I was coming down, ba-boom, missed it completely. The take was so good and that's what we used. I went in the studio on the piano, and on that part, I just hit octaves and let it ring. And when you listen to it, it just opens the whole song up. I'm sure nobody's noticed it, but that's what does it. And that was a fluke, absolute fluke.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you never know, when something is, unexpected or unintentional is going to turn into something, very important.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on Recycled, we did that in France, and we did all the basic tracks, and then we started recording the overdubs, and we weren't very happy with the studio. One point, the engineer had dismantled some of the microphones, and we decided that it made a mistake. It erased something by mistake. So we went back in the studio and played it again to the track. Now, it's right on time, and you don't really notice it, but if you know it's there, you can hear the difference quickly in the guitar. So then we went to Air Studios, and we recorded the rest of the album. When we mixed the album with Jeff Emerick from the Beatles, and we took it back to Germany, and we listened to it, and I said, this really needs a choir, and we really need to tie the pieces better together with the machine. So Bellephone arranged for us to go back in the studio, and we did the overdubs, and some of the sounds are just things like change in my pocket. I would just hit it in a timing, and it was a 5-time rather than a 4-time. So you were able to get this feel in a movement. And when we came to do the choir, Christian Kolonovich needed a tape recorder, and we borrowed one from Vangelis, who was a good friend of ours. And he was panicking because he always sleeps with his tape recorder so that he can sing anything that comes to mind while he's asleep. So we got it back to him next morning. Christian wrote the parts for the choir, and then when the choir came in, they couldn't sing to the track. The reason being, we used to tune to the organ, and the organ tuning depended on the power. The powers fluctuated, the organ fluctuated. So we had to tune the track to 440 and have them sing. And when they were finished, we put it back to where it was. But there are things that you come up against every time. I don't care. Even today, there are things that come up that you did not expect.
Yeah,
that's what makes it interesting,
I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember reading that at your first show in New York, that you guys overwhelmed the power supply for the building, that you guys actually knocked the power out to the venue.
Yeah, that's what everybody was being told, but in actual fact, and this is I've never said this to anybody, so you're it. Tommy, our stage manager, hung up his coat, and it turned out he hung it on the power switch, and he just pulled everything off. So he quickly put it back on again. But that's what caused that.
Well, getting back to those unexpected things that have a big impact.
However, we played in Canada, in Edmonton, I think it was. It's either Edmonton or Calgary. It's hard to say because the halls were identical. And we had some big lasers at the time. And the lasers overpowered the whole city block. It took out the whole power from 2 or 3 city blocks. And it was off for probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We had to wait for it to come back on again, or for them to put it back on so we could continue playing. But that was the lasers in their infancy.
They use a little bit of energy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you've mentioned playing different places. Have you found that the song requests vary greatly from country to country, or even within regions of a country?
Somewhat. I have to say, our fans are very loyal. We've had some fans for over 50 years. They're very loyal. But we are thinking of putting on our website and on our Facebook page for people who are coming to a show, if they want to request a specific song, we'll see if we can accommodate. So that's going to start up soon, I would think.
All right. And we've got your Facebook page scrolling across the bottom of the screen here, so folks can jot that down to make sure they hop on your page to.
Yeah, we have actually more. At Nektar Rocks, I think, is Nektar, the legendary rock band. Then we've got a Nektar Appreciation Society. We've got a Just Plain Nektar. And then we've got the Nektar website that we took over from Cleopatra. So there's a number of Nektar sites. And we're doing fairly well. Membership is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We get new members every day.
No, that's great. Well, tell you, since we're talking about all the way they can find you, you've got your YouTube channel as well. So.
The new YouTube channel has just got over 2 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we thought. I was looking at the channel because we're looking to get some in-ears monitors, and I wrote in the thing that they request what the individual artist has done, and I looked at the YouTube and I counted all the views. Over 2 million, unbelievable, unbelievable. Now
tell me.
Go on.
Tell me this, Mo. If somebody would have told you back in '69 that, in 2021, you're going to have over 2 million views on YouTube, I somehow doubt that you would have believed them.
I would not have believed them, no.
Of course, you probably would have said, "What's YouTube?"
Yeah, right. There was no YouTube. It was back then. There was no such thing as progressive rock.
No.
We were probably considered a rock band at the time. I mean, a lot of our stuff was pretty hard. I mean, look at King of Twilight was covered by Iron Maiden.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of songs that were covered by rock bands.
Well,
even Pink Floyd took a couple of sections out of our music. We know that they were big fans. In fact, Nick Mason came to our show in New York City when we played in 2002 or three, I think. And that's good. I mean, we look at a lot of different bands today and see what's out there, what's still around there. And we're in touch with a lot of people through our website, which is great, and through our Facebook page. I don't know if you know Fernando Perdomo. He's everywhere. I don't know who's doing his publicity, but they're doing a good job.
Yeah, well, actually, Denny Sywell, who worked with Fernando on the Ram tribute album,
right,
was on the show recently. So he was talking about Fernando. So.
He's a great guy. At some point, I've just done a piece of music with Fernando, and I'm looking to do some more. I don't know when they'll come out or how they'll come out, but I'm sure they will.
Sounds good. Well, tell me this, Mo. Is there anything that we didn't cover?
There's a lot you didn't cover in 50 years. But I have to say, I think we got some interesting conversation going.
I think so too.
A lot of stuff that nobody knows about, and just the way we do our music, and how it comes out. We're very, very happy with our new album, The Other Side, and we're starting to get into writing another one. So we should have that one done next year, I think. We've got lots of material. We've got lots of material still left from 1978.
Wow. How many songs? Yeah. Obviously, that was a pretty productive period for you guys.
Oh, yeah. How many songs do we have left?
Yeah.
Probably 10.
Okay.
And we've got lots of new ones that we've written, and somehow they'll all tie together.
All right, Mo, we'll tell you what, on that note, we'll bring this one to a close. I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us.
Oh, no problem. It's always fun talking. Love talking.
All right, sounds good. We'll tell you what, everybody, we have had Nektar's website and social media scrolling across the bottom of the screen throughout the show, so you can go there and get more info. Go to their YouTube channel, join the 2 million people who've already viewed some Nektar songs there. And with that, we're going to wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for watching. Mo, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. I hope your fans all come and see us. You're going to have fun if you do.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
This has been Music Night at the Majestic with Michael Boswell. If you enjoyed this edition of Music Night at the Majestic, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and at musicnight.net. Music Night at the Majestic is a copyright production of Starliner Media. Any use of the accounts and descriptions of this program, its audio or visual content, without the express written consent of Starliner Media is prohibited. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next time for Music Night at the Majestic. This is your announcer speaking. Starliner Media.